Hey guys! Hello. It's your host here, Mariah. Welcome back to Our Perspective. If you're listening on audio, we miss you, we love you, we hope you're doing well. And if you're here with us on YouTube, welcome back. I hope that your week, your day, your month has been treating you well. And we're back with another video. So, today's gonna be a little different. This episode's gonna run a little different. We're gonna do a little switch up. For the first time ever, I am coming to an episode with notes. And I know I talked about like wanting to be very discussion based and transparent with the things that I'm saying in my episodes, which, don't get me wrong, we're still very much doing that, but I feel like there's also so much importance with being intentional with the information I'm putting out, and just a way for me to kind of like get my thoughts together as I'm doing the episode, because I tend to ramble and then bring it all together and we're all over the place a little bit, and that's okay too, but I want to hone in on more of having an intentional conversation with y'all. So, as you can tell, you probably read the title of the audio or the YouTube episode. I just say YouTube episode, YouTube video. And I will be looking at my phone from time to time. So if you're watching on video, please don't mind. Excuse me. Just need to gather my thoughts. We need to get the road running. Okay. So, by the title of this video, you see that it states that we're understanding parental past. So when we talk about that, what do we think? Understanding parental past, why is that important? All of what OP talks about is mental health, breaking generational curses, what that means, how to take care of you, self-care, self-love, all that good stuff. And I think it's important to also, not my bedtime notification, come on. You know, we're not doing that today. My phone just telling on me. It's also important to get to the not so good parts, the not so happy parts, the not so easygoing parts, because those are also very important. So when it comes to understanding your parental past, whether it be your mother, your father, right? It helps you better understand who they are, number one. And it helps you understand that the tools that they had growing up, and how it affects them and how they show up in the world as they are today. And what does it mean when I say that? So if I need to cut a piece of paper and I have a pair of scissors, and my mom needs to cut a piece of paper and she has nothing to cut it with, who do you think is going to be more efficient? Who do you think is going to be more sharp? And who do you think is going to have a little bit of a better outcome? Me, right? Because I have the actual tool. She may fold the paper, do the little pinch thing so she could get a good crease and she could rip it. It's still going to be ripped. We have the same outcome. But who's a little bit more precise? Okay? That's the kind of analogy I want you to go with, as far as like people having tools and people being equipped with tools to handle certain things, experience certain things. And when trauma gets in the mix of that, it gets a little, we in a wave now. It gets a little rocky. So when it comes to trauma, it looks a little different for everybody. And there's a different definition for that for everybody. So we're just gonna define trauma today as a very significant event that is traumatic, that can affect your everyday life, essentially rewire your brain or cause you to have a change in lifestyle to a certain degree, right? So this is essentially subject to your own truth, right? It's a hard-hitting event, right? Or a sequence of events, because it can happen more than once, the same thing, or many different things that lead up to one big thing, right? And it can cause you mental, emotional, and physical turmoil, whatever that looks like, right? If I were to break my foot and I can never walk again, that's traumatic, because now I have to navigate my life in a completely different way. So back to understanding our parental past. If our parents have experienced any type of trauma, which if we're talking realistic, they most likely have, because again, trauma is subject to your perception. And if there are things that have happened to them in their childhood or as adulthood that cause them to think a certain way or act a certain way in a negative light, it's traumatic. In the case that your parents have experienced any type of trauma, the likelihood of them being emotionally closed off is high. The probability is up here, okay? And that can look like many different things, but I've written down some things to kind of notate what that would look like for you to create kind of sense of what it would look like, right? So for a parent to be emotionally closed off, that may look like a lot of sadness, anger, lashing out, emotional and verbal abuse, lack of acknowledging others' feelings, lack of acknowledging their own feelings, soaking their identity into being a parent and not knowing anything else. This looks like, I'm a mother first before anything. I'm a mother before I'm Mariah. I'm a mother before I am a student. I'm a mother before I am an employee at this place. I'm a mother before I am who I am. And diving fully deep into that role causes you to kind of lose your sense of identity. And they can also detach and disassociate from being a parent and how they choose to exist in the world. So then we have the complete opposite of that. I'm Mariah and Mariah only. I'm going to do what I want. I don't care who it affects. And sometimes it's unfortunate that it affects children. People who give up their children, people who pawn off their children, people who do verbal and physical abuse to their children, that can look like that. And even to their children as adults, we can see that. And also, I think this is the most important thing. Not that anything else is not important, but not having the language to understand and express how they feel. I think this is where we, as a society, as a minority group, struggle the most. Because think about it. If I am feeling this very intense feeling, and this feeling can exist in my world and in my mind for months and years, and I don't have the language or the words to express that, imagine how much turmoil that can cause. Imagine how much frustration and irritation that can cause, because I cannot express this to anybody else, or I don't have the tools, right, to express this to you, to have a better outcome, to be able to become a better person, to be able to be a better person to my child, to myself, and essentially the world, right? So that's something that is very important, and it shows up a lot more than we think. And even me not even being a parent yet, it shows up. And that's where it's so important to be able to start to understand your parental past and start to unlearn those things, because those are learned behaviors and learned coping skills that we use in order to survive. And a lot of the times our parents go through very traumatic things, And a lot of the way they are a result of their trauma. But as a kid and as a child, we move the same way as if we have experienced the same trauma without even realizing it. So that's important to know. Okay. Another thing to know is the fact that their body is keeping the score. And what I mean by that, even though the traumatic event is not in the front, their body remembers it. Their mind remembers it, even if it's in the back. And when someone is re-triggered, this can look like a range of things. You may see an automatic shutdown, you may see irritation, you may see them indulging in, let's say, alcohol, drugs, or physical abuse, lashing out, those things. And that's very important to recognize, because also seeing those things as a kid, we think that those things are okay when we feel intense emotions, and we're not able to know what is the correct way to be able to process those emotions. If we're being taught, say my parent is upset and they're going to have a drink and it becomes more than one and it's a consistent thing, or my parent is upset and they lash out, yell and scream. Obviously, as a child, this is how I'm viewing how my parent is expressing themselves and showing emotion. So I'm going to think that when things get tough, this is how I act. Even if I know it's wrong, this is what I've learned. This is what I've been shown as a kid. So those things come up as well. Yeah. This has been a theme of my life for the past 5 years. Full transparency. And it's not been the easiest. It's not been the easiest process. But I will say that it's very rewarding to be able to recognize things and recognize what's wrong and what's right, and also how you can put a stop to certain things and put a stop to things that can contribute to cycles to continue to flow across generation, across family. And I think it's very important to also note how when you are the person who calls out things for what it is, or are a little bit more isolated from family or certain people because of certain behaviors, or you limit your time with certain people, even if it's family, you're going to look like the outcast. You're going to look like the black sheep because you're doing things that are not in the norm of your family dynamic. You're not indulging in what you think, what you know is wrong or not the healthiest. And they're going to look at you like, they're going to criticize you, essentially. They're either going to look at you like you think you're not a part of the family, or you're bougie, or you don't love them, when it's really you see things for what they are, and you know that this is not something you want to continue. And then it comes to there's a point in time where it comes to what are you going to do to be able to protect your sanity? What are you going to do to be able to protect your own mental health? And what boundaries are you going to set in order to preserve that? Because it's not to say you don't need to have a relationship with your family or your parents at all, but also as you're growing into your own person and becoming an adult, what boundaries do you need to set with yourself and with your family? I know many different people have many different experiences, and the process and the healing is not linear at all. You're gonna backtrack. There's a lot of emotions involved, and it's so important to listen to yourself. Listen to your body. Notice how you feel before you speak to someone and after you speak to someone, whether it be family, friends, whoever. But take that time to listen to yourself. And if you don't feel right or you feel unsettled after speaking to somebody, that's a signal right there where there needs to be a bit of an adjustment or a change with the way you feel. And what does that look like? Maybe I'm going to limit my phone calls with this person. Maybe if a certain topic comes up, I'm going to let them know I'm not comfortable with this, or I don't want to talk about this. But even getting to the point where you know what type of boundaries you need to set with someone takes work. Because there may be anger, there may be sadness, there may be dramatic things involved within the relationship that you have. But you see, I'll be going on a little bit of a tangent. When we're speaking about our parents, there's so many scenarios that you can think of, that I can think of, and I can come up with. But the first step is accepting them for who they are. And that takes work. I'm not gonna lie to you. It takes work. But also being able to put yourself in their shoes to a certain extent and understand the cards they were dealt and how they played the game. They may not have had 100 wins, but they may have had 10. They may have been able to play it 1,000 different ways, but they played it this way because this is the only way they knew. So when you put yourself in that position, you start to understand more. And you start to have a little bit more grace. Instead of, you're doing this to me, you're doing this to me, why are you hurting me? You're not considerate of me, you're doing this to me. But also think about, why are they doing this? How do they feel? How is this showing up? What about their past is contributing to how they're showing up for me? Whether it be something that I want or something that I don't necessarily expect and it's a negative thing. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I am in my head, so I hope you're following. And just referencing the last episode that I had, it takes wanting to do the work. It takes wanting to give yourself the opportunity to heal and to start to recognize those curses, those generational curses, and recognize those unhealthy family patterns. It does. And in the case that you want children and that you don't want children, it's so very important to do the work for you. That's the most important thing. Do it for yourself. If anybody else, do it for you. Honestly. A couple of announcements. Please go check out our website at our.perspective.myshopify.com. We have some vision board PDF guidelines on how to manifest and envision your life and set goals for yourself. We also have a letter to yourself PDF booklet where you can start to write letters to yourself about reflection and the goals you want and what that looks like. And we give you a very good breakdown for each type of goal for you to work on. It's pretty neat if you ask me, because I'm the one who made it, but go check it out. We also have some mental health stickers on the site. Please make sure to give our Instagram a follow, a like, a share, tell your friends, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. And if you're interested in joining our perspective to talk about your perspective on here, please send us a message on YouTube, Instagram, wherever you see our handles, contact info. We will get back to you. And I will be coming with more suggestions on some journals to utilize, some books to read to kind of help you on your journey, because I am also on my journey, and anything that I talk about is not something that I don't exclude myself out of. Just know that. Full transparency here. And I'm here to give a voice to those who don't have any, and to kind of share the experience together. We're on this journey together. So I hope you're here for the ride. Seize the day and don't let the day seize you. See you next time.